look at this then? Right, and I know both of you have your own intentions, your own desires, and like Ravi, you said you have a great boss to support you, but that may not be true, let's say, in another organization. That may not be true for the organization also at large. And Apoorv, while uh, again, as an entrepreneur, I do feel that the biggest thing that you have is you decide the culture of the organization. That's the primary thing that's in your control, right? How do you then set examples? How do you support other folks? How do you create that space for other people? Is that something you've actively been doing? Is that something you've done? Um, I do hear a lot of mothers, I mean, like working mothers say that I do want to support other working mothers. Faced this, so I want to kind of support them. So how do you support them, as leaders or as founders, as business owners? Is that something that crosses your mind, or is it like, okay, if someone comes after
Yeah.
me, then I will think about it?
No, I think I might go a little Buddha on us here, but I think it's again, I think it's maybe, and I think a lot of people don't actually connect with me when I start talking about this, right? I think it's about what do you really want from your life, right?
Mm.
Like, and I think once you've had Maslow's need, right? Once you've got your basic needs covered,
Yeah.
do you want to keep chasing something, or do you really want to balance it, or just talk about it on your LinkedIn post, but still go back and work 10 hours and then say, oh, that's why I can't be a parent. Right. So for me, that's really, really important. And I think as an entrepreneur, it took me a lot of time to not be guilty about not working hard enough because
Mm.
I felt that's the fashion, right? Everyone works 15 hours. It's my company. Why will I not work the hardest in my own company,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
So I think that's if I could say one biggest gift that Vidushi, my wife, and being a parent has given me is to like really understand that you don't need to work hard. If you can
Mm.
still achieve things that you've set out to achieve, be honest to your work and
Mm.
not, fool anyone.
Mm.
I think you can do everything. So I think so that's coming to the culture then, right? So I'll give a very simple example. I hope none of my team members ever watches or listens to this, right? But when I would be like with me, I would actually tell my team I'm in meetings initially because I want them to feel that, oh, the founders are working hard.
Initially,
Hard.
Although I was just yeah, so I wanted them to believe exactly what you're saying, right? Which I wanted to set the example, and then I realized, what am I doing? It's a company I have created. I
Mm.
can do anything I want to. Why I'm choosing to lie to my own team members about working?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So I think that took a little bit of time, and I think a lot of guilt that you go through. And then I think, yeah, and I think what really helped is now I have four other parents in the team,
Mm.
three guys actually, and one mother.
Mm.
Right. I think what we really do is on our Monday calls or a Friday things, we actually talk about our kids a lot, about
Mm.
parenting a lot. But and it's not like, oh, today it just comes up in the conversation because we do talk about, okay, how was your day? And that call will, that, oh, my daughter was unwell, my son was had to rush them to the doctor. Also, we have a very remote flexible hours, right? So people are not ashamed of saying at 3 p.m. they were in the clinic,
Mm.
or at 4 p.m. their son wanted ice cream or a play date, as Ravi mentioned. So I
Mm.
actually get messages from my team, I'm at a play date, so I can't take a call.
Mm.
Right. So I think but it was never spoken about.
Mm.
It just became because I think I changed or Vidushi changed. I mean, Vidushi was always like that, but I think when they saw me change, they realized, okay, it's acceptable to do that. It's
Mm.
acceptable to be at a beach at 3 p.m.
Mm.
and maybe finish your work later at 7.
Mm.
Right. Till the time you get your work, then again, I think it's about, yeah, being honest and not fooling anyone. I think that's more important than working hard all the time.
Mm.
Right. So yeah.
How are you setting the tone, Ravi?
uh, I think I think the first part which Apoorv mentioned, which is actually being honest and transparent, I think that really helps. I have, I
Mm.
think, I have a pretty young team, so I think I have just one more parent in the team. And I think we probably vibe a little more than the others in terms of what we do, what kind
Mm.
of we speak, and so on. But I think just making it okay, because at least in my team, I set what's okay, what's not okay, and in that sense is saying that this is what I am, this is where I am, this is what's happening. uh, so there have been a couple of cases in the last six months that twice my son has fallen and broken his hand and fractured it, and hence had to be there, be not available for a while, etc. Now, though that may be an extreme example of fracture hand, so you would tell, but even
Right.
if I'm going to a doctor or going somewhere, I don't try and not say I'm not there. I just say, hey, I'm not there because of ABC reasons. I may not tell it all the team, but at least the other parent definitely knows what's happening, and so on. So make it normal to have this conversation, and this is acceptable. So while I still can't control everything that happens because of the larger organization, but at least within the team, it's okay to say you're available, not available, present, not present, or you'll do it later, whatever it is, because of things that come up. And we often maybe self differentiate in terms of, okay, my child is sick, it's okay to say, but I want to go for a play date, it's not okay to say. So in that context,
Yeah.
because it's probably that's how we are conditioned, that's how we think. I don't think any one of us, whatever our bosses or our culture, if they see a child is sick, they don't say no. But I think it's these smaller
Yeah.
things of PTMs or play dates or catch ups or pickups and whatever. That's where I think things need to be more easy for everyone. So we try to make it more, at least I try to make it a little more easier in that aspect.
So, which also brings me to a point of saying, so what kind of comments or biases have you faced? So, let's say, I know you said you self differentiate and say, okay, not play date, but emergency or child is sick is, people are still empathetic about it. But on a regular basis, pick or drop or 4 o'clock play dates or birthday parties, what kind of biases or what kind of comments have you heard, or and could be from anywhere and any front?
Uh, yes, I think, I mean, for work front, I wouldn't have any, to be honest. Even if they wanted to say things to me, I don't think they say it.
You should ask your
But
team.
I think again, yeah, maybe I'm sure. So I think also what's helped in a way is that at some point, most of them have come and lived with us or around us in Goa and have they seen our routine. So they know I
Mm,
mainly work between 10 to 4 when Mir goes to school. And then everything else, if there's a call very urgent or something, then only. So, it's also like, so, they've got to connect. But the comments and bias have come from a very different channel, right? So recently, Vidushi had to go for a longest trip somewhere, right, for 2 to 3 weeks. I got like 4 or 5 messages from other parents saying, how will you manage? And that seemed so weird to me, right? Like, I'm like, what do you mean, how will I manage? Like, it's a routine. There's nothing, yes, it's always good to have another person. But it's how, I don't think she would get those messages if I was traveling, is what I'm trying to say. Right. So yeah, and these are people who didn't know us from before, right? So they're like a new sort of circle of friends, and but again, we thought they were pretty modern in their thinking, or at least I thought. But even the modern people is just a default, right? Oh, if the mother is traveling, how will the kid manage? And that sort of infuriates me sometimes. Right? Like, what do you mean? How will the kid manage? He's fine, right? Like, I mean, he'd love to have both of us at all points of time, but sometimes that's not possible. But if one of us leaves, I would like to believe it's the same for him. Right? So I think that sort of biases a little bit, but not in the work front for sure. I've not heard anything yet. Yeah.
we should ask the team.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But that may spin off into a different episode altogether.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, from my side, I see a few things. Even if there is a parents group, it's often they ask the mom for coordination and things like that. So I think even though they know, I sometimes I do turn up. So in that sense, some of those small things are there. Things like, for example, Sam and I were got COVID and we got quarantined. Aruna didn't have, so she didn't test positive. He said, "You go ahead and you stay out for." And that time I think it was 14 days. So I said, "You go ahead and stay out, and two of us will be quarantined at home." Yeah, I think there were enough conversations saying that no, 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 mom must have gone out. How is that possible? I'm sure she'll come back. No, she has to come back. No, logic is if You two of you COVID, why should another person get COVID for no reason?
Person get COVID.
And I can
Yeah.
manage. Forget manage. I think we can have a great time. So in that sense, you do, as similar to what Apoor mentioned, you do hear questions on, or not question, but you do hear some of one-off conversations on manage. Well, I would love to have conversations on thrive, flourish, and how you're having fun and what you guys doing. But the questions always around manage. So that's the kind of expectations we have, which is fine. But I think that's the kind. At a work context, I think. No, I don't think there's much. I think people are really sensitive or at least kind of aware. So at least I have not heard on my face or around any such conversations happen. It comes off, I think, little more, let's just say, scheduling meetings, say, of late meetings, things like that, which are more unconscious because they assume you'll be available for the call even if it's later in the evening or whatever, because you can be available. So those kind of things come up, but I don't think anyone has said something or it's been around that way.
Right. So when someone asks you this question of saying, "How do you manage?" Uh, how do you respond, or how do you deal with it? I mean, does it bother you? Is it, or do you choose to respond? Do you choose to ignore? How do you deal with it? Or do you
I-
choose to? This is a moment to educate. Let me educate.
so,
So,
Now, go
so
ahead, Apu.
no, no, I think I'll tell you something. I mean, me was 2 to 3 months old, and we were at a wedding, and he was just howling or crying, right? And there's one of the aunties, or like one of like not immediate family, someone, and like she's like, "Oh, where is Vitushi?" I'm like, "Why? What happened?" Oh, like Mir is crying. I'm like, "No, I'll take him," because he was in someone else's arms. So I was like, "No, no, no, let me find the mom." So I think that was my moment of taking out all the anger and then releasing it and saying that, okay, I think so. I think from that moment on, because I was the one actually used to pacify him at that age when he used to like really cry, right? So I think now when it happens to me, I always go back to that moment. I'm like, I've already processed this part of me, angry part. So I also don't feel it's my job or role to educate anyone else, because I do that enough in my job, actual job, any which ways. So I don't like to do it in social settings. But I think if it's a close friend or someone who I feel are also a parent, and they call themselves a conscious parent, organic parent, sustainable parent, whatever cool word that's going on, right? So I do tell them that I think maybe think about the words you've chosen, uh, right? Instead of asking me, I'm glad you're worried about me and you're asking me. But the question, as Ravi said, right, you can ask me, are you guys doing great? Are you having fun? And maybe if I'm not having fun, I will tell you, actually, it's been difficult. And some days are difficult as a single parent, and that can happen to anyone, right? A mother or a father. Right. So I think so that's, yes, definitely. I would speak about that. That maybe, ask the question differently to me. And right, like, yeah, but I think the part that actually annoys me still a little bit is when they say, is Mir okay? Right? When they ask me, I'm okay. Like, I'll just shove it on, because that is like almost like directly sort of questioning, it goes to your ego brain.
yeah.
Right? Like, what do you mean Mir is okay? Right? So, yes, I think that part, yes, but at least I don't educate people, or yeah, if someone's really close, I will tell them, but otherwise I'll just ignore it and I'll just like, yeah, move
Yeah,
on.
yeah,
Yeah.
similar. I think some of my relatives probably have got it once or twice, saying that, "What do you mean?" And more also from an ego standpoint, no, for no other reason. I don't think I was trying to educate. I was just more little bit of lashing that happened simply because they, unfortunately, after a series of such questions, they just happened to be that person who just pushed me off the ledge on that point. So I think that's where few of them got it. But no, in a larger social context or whatever, they don't. I think I don't make any statement. You probably just listen to it, smile and wave, and ignore and move on. Because beyond this, it's not going to affect my life, their life, anything else. So just listen and say it's okay and just move on.
Interesting. So, and this is a question: do fathers make for more empathetic leaders? Does that happen?
No, I don't know. I think empathetic leaders are just choose to be empathetic
Empathetic.
fathers, or otherwise, I think we have had empathetic leaders over generations. So I don't think more. What it does, though, I think it gives them an opportunity to relate to a completely different set of adults, parents, moms, fathers in a very different way because of their own experiences. But I think empathy, I think they can choose to be empathetic. I mean, we can choose to be empathetic on any scenario without even personally thinking of those.
Yeah. I don't know. I think so. I think I was thinking about this, right? I think, but for me, I think it comes from, again, just being more aware of people's time, right? And not assuming that people are always available for you. So maybe that was the biggest change when I became a father. And I'm not only talking about parents. I could just I had a couple of team members who are also the primary caregivers to their parents. All right. So being more understanding of that fact definitely came to me after I became a parent, right? Okay, that people do have other responsibilities, and sometimes that have to be prioritized. And I think something that was coming in my head, like I think Lochan, you and Gaurav, and just for everyone else, we're writing a book together. I think I'm the one who cancels the calls the most, and 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 I think for me, I'm at a stage in life where I would prioritize parenthood over work even sometimes. So I've almost gone to the other dark side of being there. And I think for me, now I just hope at the end of the day, like people understand who are around me, who choose to work with me, or like it's something that I'm not doing to them, I'm doing it to me. Like I just need to be somewhere else at this moment, and usually it's to do with me. Right. So I think the same sort of then benefit of the doubt or trust I like to give to others. Right. So yeah. So, and I'm guessing that is empathy at some level, right? So yeah. So that's definitely happened.
Yeah, yeah. You know, the interesting part about time, I had the same 24 hours then, before the kid, and 24 hours after the kid. I have no idea how I spent the 24 hours before kid. How? What was I even doing? I seem to be doing so much more now. What was I even doing? So I think time is premium now, and hence, as Apoorv rightly said, I think hence in that sense, time is a premium for everyone, with kid, without kid, your own life, whatever. So I think that yeah, that shift maybe has happened, but yeah, that's kind of it. But empathy, yeah.
And with time being a premium, has parenthood changed your perspective on work and life? And I know, Apoorv, you said that you've kind of gone on the other side, the dark side. I don't like to call it dark side.
Fun
I think
side.
it's all sides are bright sides. Yeah, it's a fun side actually. But how has your perspective on work and life changed? And did was it always this, and it just kind of you know triggered it, or did it completely drastically change for either of you? Uh,
No, I struggle every day. Uh, so, um, see, I don't know. I think you mentioned earlier in the conversation that people, dads, when they get home, my dad would come home at 5:30 in a government job, and he'd be there to play. He'd be there to do things, or I don't know, take a ride in a cycle or a scooter or something like that. And now I don't get to do that, and I think I've had a pretty happy childhood. And one of the things I do want to do is kind of provide a happy childhood and present, and that is a constant tension because so wanting to do more, and he's also at an age where I feel he's now a little human. We have some conversations, and now he's getting obsessed with cricket. So there's so much more, something new to talk about, and so on. So in that sense, we follow football together. So we are figuring out our common things to do and so on. So we want to do more of that and be present. And I don't think I would have thought of being present as a bigger driver earlier, but it is now. And hence, definitely the kind of organizations I would work with, or the teams I would work with, or culture I would work in, has to privilege this or prioritize this. Otherwise, it's not happening. So, in that context, yes, I don't think I've ever achieved it. I don't think I'm ever going to achieve it. but it's a struggle every day. But it
Sure.
is evolving, and hopefully, when he looks back, he will think that okay, I didn't get enough time in this period.
No, which I think is always a parent's worry,
Yeah,
right? Are you
parents is
giving enough? Are
lifelong
you
worry,
doing enough?
so
And
it's fine.
yeah, so am I doing enough is always a question. But I think this is an interesting perspective to say just, being present and being present, obviously not physically, but being present mentally and being there is, you know, a priority, and therefore time matters, and therefore, what you were doing mindlessly earlier probably is today, being done very mindfully in some ways, and so on. So has that changed for you, Apur? I know you always wanted to be an
Yeah.
entrepreneur and, do something completely different and
Yeah.
uh, wear a different coat than black. And
No, but I think when Ravi was saying it was such a funny thing. So I was recently in Delhi and my parents are still government employees, Ravi. So I still, and because I'm an entrepreneur, I'm home, usually working. I still wait for my parents to come back at 5:30 so I can play with them. Right. But obviously I'm not even joking. You guys might think like literally it happens where I'm waiting and then obviously we go for an evening walk or we do something, right? So my context, I realized, okay, it's all come a full circle because their life hasn't changed since I was a kid to now.
mm,
Mine has changed in between, no kid wants to hang out with their parents at a certain age. So I went through that phase. And
mm,
now because I stay in a different city, whenever in Delhi, I make it a point to be home around 5:36 because I
mm,
know that's when they come back home.
mm,
Right. So, anyways, that's the thought that came to me when you were mentioning that. But I think coming to the work part, that's something very interesting happened to me, and this is where I realized, okay, things are changing for me. So usually, as an entrepreneur, when a crisis happens, then when you go into, then nothing else matters. Usually, and you're, okay, you have to solve it, right? And we were doing a program in Japan. It was not going well. Like we had, created certain goof ups. So like the client was had full right to be unhappy with us, right? So at around 1 a.m that client just went like crazy on me. I was there with the program, and halfway through the conversation, I just zoned out. I'm like, what would be me doing right now? I haven't spoken to him in a few hours. But usually, me would like go into solving mode and not sleep.
mm,
That time, I'm like, this is not really important. It's work, but it's not the most important thing for me right now. Yes, I would solve it, but I will figure it out later, right? So I think those small moments are making you realize what is important to you.
mm,
Right? Again, now not showing I don't want because we have, the client has paid us. So I still want them to have the best experience. But am I losing sleep over it anymore? Not really.
mm,
I'm figuring it out. I'm being more, being more kind to myself.
mm,
It's okay. Sometimes you goof up, and I think at a very simple, oversimplistic level, you realize what you really want and what makes you happy. Right. And for the longest time, work was me. I'm this. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm the CEO. That would be my introduction. And now I barely say that. Like I almost feel like that's not even important anymore to say it, which company, what's the name of my brand, or so yes, I think those small shifts I've seen since I became a father, to be honest. And not that now I'm noticing those things more than consciously deciding to do those things. Yeah.
mm. That's very interesting. So, so if you have to share, and this is going to be my last question before we like kind of wind this up, or rather, second last question. Um, if you had to, if you got a chance to go back and do it all over again, right? What would you change for yourself, for maybe the environment, whatever? What would you change, if at all?
Go back when?
The
To your childhood, Ravi, when you were a kid, what would you change?
no, no, sorry,
No, I was
pre-parenthood
pulling
and
Lochan's leg.
oh.
So,
So is there anything that you would change?
um, I don't know if I would change, but I think probably I would maybe have a little more play and fun, and feel the feel of play and fun, because now I'm more conscious of it. I don't get very peeved of things don't go well, go well. None of those things happen because I know I'm not going to be here again at this point. So, but I think it took a while to get here. So I think a little more play and fun throughout this journey. I think that would be something nice to add.
So not stressing about that moment, and
Yeah,
if you've eaten, not
whatever I
eaten,
stressed
that
has come to
extra
life,
broccoli.
and nothing has happened because of it. So we are fine still. So it's okay.
What about you, Apu?
So yes, I think I'm guessing you're asking since you became parents, right? That's
Yes,
the
yes,
timeline. No,
yes.
no, I think
That's
so.
the biggest transition I would like
Yeah,
to make at this
yeah. No, I think so. So I don't think I'll change anything about being a parent, right? But what I would definitely change, and I think I said it at the beginning also, is my entrepreneurial way of being doing is we'll figure out things on the go, right? We'll fix it. So I'm the opposite of Ravi. I don't overthink or I don't overstress. Sometimes you need to stress a little bit, which I also don't do. Right. But what I would definitely change is be more aware of the transition and the impact it takes on a woman's body and their health. I think that I was not aware of. Or I knew it, but I'm like, no, but it doesn't happen to us. It happens to someone else. So yeah, I think I would definitely would have done that differently. The pregnancy time, for sure. Like just be more empathetic, just more aware or asking the right questions. Right? Okay, are you okay? Right? Or like so those things. So yeah, that I would have been definitely. I think that there has to be a bigger conversation for me among fathers to be, if I could give back to them, that just being around is not enough, because I thought that was enough. I'm around you. But really, because sometimes your wife or your partner, whoever you've decided to have a kid with, they don't also know what they're going through. So, you can't expect them to tell you. So I don't have the answer to it, but I would have done it more consciously in a different way. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that gives me the cue to ask that question. So is there any like life advice, so to say, to I know both of you are making faces, but is there any life advice, so to say, that you would like to give, let's say, to dads to be or young dads, as well? Any words of wisdom?
Apoorv, your thoughts go Buddha.
Ye- I would, I'm actually, no, but it's a bit controversial, and I mean, and it's not only for dads, it's for parents in
Sure.
general. But I think something I'm trying to work on myself and realizing slowly, and maybe it comes a lot from dads if you look at a very traditional perspective, to push their ambition into onto their kids, right? So it comes from that perspective. But I think what I'm starting to realize is there's a big sort of pressure, um, I don't know, the past precedence on owning your child in the Indian context. Right, you own them, and you will do what I want you to do, and your interest should be as. So I think something that I'm realizing slowly, that you don't own your kid and they don't owe you anything. I think that's my only advice I give to every parent or myself. I keep reminding myself that presently Meir chooses to travel with us. He's a wanderer. Soon he'll have his own agency. He'll figure out what he wants in his life, and that's what he should be. And right, like should so you're almost a caretaker till he wants you to be the caretaker, and you can't put it on him, because I chose to bring him in this. He didn't ask me to bring him in this world, right? So that's my only advice to parents, fathers, whoever, that don't look at your kid as your property or someone who should take care of you later. It's like, oh, I took care of you, but so now you need to take care of me. Right. So I think that's so it's a more generic advice, not really for dads, but I think, yeah, for dads, if you feel alone and you really feel you don't know how to do the dad thing and how to be, so then Ravi and me are here for you. We are also figuring it out. We don't have all the answers, but it'll be nice to have a bigger community to figure it out together or be confused together. Right. So that's for the fathers out there.
Hey, Apoorv, have
Right.
you
Yeah.
read Khalil Gibran's children? Uh,
No, I
it
haven't.
actually goes what you're saying, which is your children are not your children; their lives longing for itself. They may not come; they may come through you, but they don't belong to you. If I
To you.
remember it right, yeah. So you should go.
Yeah. I've read these lines
Yeah.
somewhere for sure. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
from my side, I think I don't think I'm qualified enough to give advice, but I would say it's just I think we've when you become a parent, you sign up for lifelong of a little bit of worrying. So it's okay to have fun also and chill a bit, a lot actually. One, uh, and more importantly, I think things will figure out. Things will happen, things will figure out, it'll work out the way it is supposed to be, or maybe not, but it's okay. So just for all the dads, just being a little more involved, I think it just makes your own life and your partner's life and everyone around much more easier, and involved in any way you think you're capable of. There is no rule to this, there's no pattern to this. I keep telling people that I am driving in a dark with the headlights on. I can only see up to where my headlights are, and I'm just hoping it's in the right road. It's on the right road, I'll get there. So but there are way you can do a little bit more than what you're doing today. That's good enough. I think the intentionality will just take care of everything else.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And definitely, and now I'm actually thinking, is there merit in creating a dad's
There
group,
is.
virtual community of sorts, and open that up. I'll put that up as a poll soon and see. But thank you so much, both of you, for sharing your journeys, for sharing your experiences, and for really throwing a little light on what the whole intentionality part of it. And I think that was something that I wasn't looking at as well. I thought it's probably circumstantial or space of choice, but when you have an intention to be a parent, you figure out a way to
Yeah.
do it and to be there and do a lot of it, your own way of what you think is needed and what you think it requires for your child. So thank you so much. This has been an amazing conversation, and I really hope all the dads out there are listening in and do get some things to take back. And if they a lot of them DM you, please let me know if that's what is happening. But thanks once again, and yeah, this is uh, our conversations will continue. Our focus is to bring in as many conversations as these to ensure that all careers remain uninterrupted. So thank you so much. Thanks everyone, and thanks to you.